Water is the foundation of all biological systems because it contains both hydrogen and oxygen. Without water, we won't be able to survive. However, when the world's water reserves are examined, 97.5% of them are non-potable salt water. 99% of the remaining water is locked underground as water or ice. As a result, less than 1% of fresh water is easily accessible from lakes and rivers. Many living things, including plants, animals, and fungi, rely on a limited supply of fresh surface water, the absence of which can have far-reaching consequences for ecosystem dynamics. The term biogeochemical is derived from the words biosphere, geological components, and chemical, elements that move through a cycle. Energy flows in a directional manner through ecosystems. Carbon, nitrogen, hydrogen, oxygen, and phosphorus and sulfur are the 6 most common elements associated with organic molecules. They exist in a variety of chemical forms and can exist for a long period of time in the atmosphere, on land, in water, or beneath the Earth's surface. Weathering, erosion, water drainage, and continental plate subduction are all geological processes that contribute to material recycling. The recycling of inorganic matter between living organisms and their environment is referred to as biogeochemical cycle because geology and chemistry play important roles in the study of this process. Biogeochemical cycles are basically divided into 2 types: gaseous cycles and sedimentary cycles. The cycling of these elements is interconnected. The movement of water, for example, is critical in leaching of nitrogen and phosphate into rivers, lakes, and oceans. Furthermore, the ocean is a significant carbon reservoir. Thus, mineral nutrients are recycled through the entire biosphere. These cycles demonstrate how the energy is utilized. These cycles transport the elements required for the life to survive throughout the ecosystem. These cycles represent the interaction of living and non-living things in ecosystems and allow ecosystems to survive indefinitely. This is critical to understand these cycles in order to understand their impact on living things. Human activities disrupt a few of these natural cycles, affecting related ecosystems. A closer look at these mechanisms can help us limit and stop their potentially harmful impact.
Human activity has a significant influence on the global water cycle. Large volumes of water are diverted from river systems through the construction of dams and irrigation programs. The release of greenhouse gases, which causes global warming, alters rainfall and evaporation patterns across the world.
Human and the water cycle. The climate, ecology, and biogeochemistry of the Earth are all heavily influenced by the water cycle. Changes to the land-based water cycle have been highlighted as a key global change issue by growing historical evidence of the impact of greenhouse warming on recent climate and future modeling estimates. Impacts of human control on the water cycle. It is necessary to stabilize continental runoff and redirect water from one stage of the hydrologic cycle to another in order to increase world water use. These modifications can result in specific alterations to storage as well as decreases or increases in natural hydrological flows. The main anthropogenic change agents and their possible effects on the water system are listed and will be discussed. First is the aquifer mining. Mined fossil groundwater is the primary source of water for irrigation and other applications in the majority of arid locations, where surface water is scarce. The majority of water collected from these groundwater pools will be transferred from the aquifer to the atmosphere, especially when it is used for irrigation. Through the accelerated evaporative flow, this transfer results in both a reduction in continental storage and a brief rise in atmospheric water vapor. Second is desertification. On semi-arid soils, overgrazing and other intensive land uses can cause marginal soils to dry out, which reduces evaporation and increases storm runoff. This could have long-term effects on the viability of regional agriculture, and consequently the water balance is involved. Third is the wetland drainage. Wetlands contain standing water, soil moisture, and water in plants. Much of this water storage will be lost from the system if wetlands are drained. Additionally, drained wetlands produce more varied discharge hydrographs and evapotranspire at slower rates than their natural counterparts. Lastly, dam building. There are several reasons why dams are built, but they all stop freshwater runoff from reaching the continental landmass. As a result of the impoundment, there is an extra but poorly documented loss of surface runoff to groundwaters, which increases the storage of continental water. Additionally, significant volumes of river flow may be converted into reservoir evaporation in place, changing the drainage basin's overall water budget. It is also possible to significantly alter the timing of river discharge and subsequently continental runoff to the oceans.
Aquatic invasive species are non-native plants, animals, and other organisms intentionally or unintentionally introduced or developed into aquatic bodies. These introductions threaten the ecosystem stability, the diversity or abundance of native species, or human use of the infested water body. The ecological and socioeconomic implications constitute a severe threat to our freshwater ecosystems and a significant management challenge. There are many different kinds of marine ecosystems, like bogs and seas.
Lionfish is an example of an invasive species. Lionfish are native fishes that are found in the coral reefs in the tropical waters of the South Pacific and Indian Oceans. However, in the year 1985, lionfish were first spotted in the Dania Beach located in Florida's Atlantic coast. The reason that lionfish were introduced to the Atlantic coast was believed to be because of releasing from marine aquariums in the early 1980s. Lionfish are known to be predatory reef fish that can consume 1 to 2 fishes per minute, and since their introduction to the Atlantic coast, it has resulted to a decline of population of native reef fishes in the area. And it has been a problem since it reproduces at a fast rate, and it is known that there are minimal predators present that are immune to the lionfish's venom in the vicinity of the Atlantic coast. The presence of an invasive species like the lionfish can have a negative result to the ecosystem since it disrupts the food chain as it competes with the native predatory fishes for food such as the grouper and the snapper. And the current rate of the reef fishes being reproduced could not match the rate of its consumption, which can destroy the ecosystem in the Atlantic coast.
The term epigenetics was introduced in 1942 by embryologist Conrad Waddington, who relating it to the 17th century concept of epigenesis, defined it as the complex of developmental processes between the genotype and phenotype.
So, what is epigenetics? The word epigenetics means on top of genetics. So, for the definition, it is defined as a chemical modification of chromosomal DNA and or structures that change the pattern of gene expression without altering the DNA sequence. In other terms, all cells contain the same genes but gene expression patterns are different in different cells. There is also another term known as the epigenetic change, which is defined as a regular and natural occurrence but can also be influenced by several factors including age, environment, lifestyle, and disease state. So, how water affects epigenetics? Well, epigenetics is connected to the DNA of the organism and ecotoxicology, which is usually about adaptability, mutation, and diseases of the organism. For example, some animals will develop discoloration on their body, which is linked to the environment, food, or water consumed by the organism, while other organisms may develop diseases like cancer and infertility. Next is the constant exposure to the negative environmental factors can have physical effects on your body, which is also present in the organisms that are dependent on water. So, in example, the polluted water affects the future generations by making them more vulnerable to the diseases. But on the bright side, its effects can be reversible.
So, with the irreversible damage that we have done to the ocean and most bodies of water, we have created deformities in living organisms that could threaten the biodiversity that is embedded in these bodies of water. And these deformities can span generations upon generations, even permanently, God forbid, given if they still have the ability to reproduce, that is. This would only mean the imminent danger that is the massive loss of life and ruining gene pools of creatures due to the actions of humans.
Aquatic invasive pathogens and diseases include diseases and pathogens such as bacteria, viruses, fungi, and parasitic protozoa that affect aquatic plants and animals. Here's the list of invasive species. The first one is bar hemorrhagic septicemia. Fish in Wisconsin are at risk from the fish-killing virus known as viral hemorrhagic septicemia or VHS, an invasive species. Large fishes, large fish kills Great Lakes, Huron, St. Clair, Erie, Ontario, and St. Lawrence River in 2005 and 2006 were first attributed to VHS, which was discovered to the culprit. Here the designs of fish might have VHS. The following signs could be indicative of a variety of fish illnesses. Lab testing is therefore required to validate VHS. Transporting these fish to new areas could transfer the disease to new waters because some sick may not exhibited any symptoms. Observe a fish that kills or catches a sick fish and follow these procedures. Hemorrhagic or bleeding, bulging eyes, unusual behavior, anemia, bloated abdomens, and rapid onset. Next one is salmon fish, including trout, salmon, and whitefish are infected by the microscopic parasitic Axolobus cerebralis, which is the cause of whirling illness. A salmon fish and an aquatic form called tubifex are needed to for the parasite's intricate life cycles to progress. Whirling illness harms several fish species, including rainbow trout, cutthroat trout, and whitefish. The sign of infection follows as the parasite damages the neural system and invades cartilage. A whirling swimming behavior may be seen. Physical transformations, including but not limited to body or head skeletal anomalies when the spine or skull cartilage becomes inflamed at an early age. This happens. The skull cartilage may be sunken, revealing a sloping head, and the tail may be twisted. And finally, the tail may appear dark or black due to color alterations brought on the nerve compression. Thank you.